All right, second time shooting this because I got all the way done with the other framing where I was in the dining room and I had both games next to my head and it looked really great. And then I found out that my face wasn't in focus the whole time because I accidentally touched the autofocus ahead of time. Boy, that was disappointing. But today we are taking a look at trekking, 2 different treks. Now, let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite travel-based game? Is it Zoom in Barcelona? Is it Trekking the World, Trekking the National Parks? Because today we're taking a look at 2 trekking games in the trekking family of games. Not national parks. We're looking at Trekking the World versus Trekking Through Time, through history. Hold on. Yeah, history. Trekking through history. So we're looking at Trekking the World versus Trekking Through History. And the reason we are doing this is because they're the most recent ones, but they also offer variety. And the question that's going to be answered at the end of this video is, now, they're both in my collection, obviously, and they're both great games, but are they different enough where you can own both, or do I need to make room in my collection by getting rid of one to keep the other? So let's take a look at how these games play, and we'll come back here and talk final thoughts. All right, this is Trekking Through History set up. Now, you normally have a score tracker here for as many players you have. Now, over here on this map, you have a clock. And essentially, what you're going to be doing in this game is taking these cards. And as you take a card, you're going to move your clock that many spaces forward as shown here. There's no cost for cards. The only difference about a card is the symbols that it gives you on the card and where it sits on the map. For instance, if we were to take this card, we would get a red symbol, a wild symbol, and a blue symbol. You would take those out of this tray, and then you'd mark them on your day tracker over here. Now, ideally, what you're trying to do is get the points on here. You have to fill top to bottom. You do not have to fill left to right, though, which means that you could fill your blue before your red. But essentially, you're trying to cover these up to get these points, and you'll score these when you get them. The crystals allow you to move fewer spaces. So let's say I took this for 3, and I only wanted to move my clock 1. I could just spin 2 of my crystals and move my clock here. The reason that matters is the further someone is back, the more turns they're likely to get, because as you're in the rear, you're going to get to go more turns until you catch up, and then you're still on top there. You'll go again, and then the person behind you will go. So it's kind of that Takedo feel. The idea is that the further you are back, the more actions you're essentially going to get. Now, what are you trying to do? You're trying to accomplish making a timeline. Now, you'll notice this chart over here. If you can get 11 cards in your timeline, you're going to get 33 points. It's a lot of points. You might have 2 of those. You might have 1 of those. You might have 1.5 of those. The way it works is you have to go in sequential order. So a great starting place card is this 12,000 BC right here. You could take that card, and then you'd be set up for in the future. Now, the problem comes when you go, wait a minute, this is 12,000, this is 342. That's a pretty large jump. There's nothing in between there. It gets even worse though. Let's just say this card wasn't here. 12,000 all the way up to 1385. Now you have a chart over here to see what cards are in which day. So you say, okay, 12,000, I've got a lot of cards in between here. But then you get to, what did I say, 1385? All right, we got fewer cards coming out from here. And then 1690, even fewer. Now you do have 2 more days that you can continue building on that timeline. But ideally, you're trying to find cards that are close together as much as possible that give you the symbols that you need. Now, one other option you have. You can choose to take an ancestor card. It moves the clock ahead 3, and you get a single wild token, but it counts as the same year as the card before it. So it essentially just spaces you out a turn, which obviously will cause more cards to come out here since other people are going to be taking them as well. You'll play for 3 days, essentially 3 rounds. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. Right, so here is the world map of Trekking the World. It is just a globe with nice rounded corners. I'm going to pick the camera up and show you kind of the map, the layout. You're going to take those souvenir cubes, and based on player count, you're going to lay them out of the bag randomly onto the different areas of great, beautiful places to track and see across the world. They're going to put your character on one of the airport spaces. You'll see those denoted by the airplane. You're going to lay out these region bonuses face down randomly and put the rest in the box. There's a reminder of what you can do on your turn here, as well as in-game triggers on the board. You also have the journey log. These are the 2 special actions you can take. They are different each time you play. You pick an A one and a B one, so ours is reserved 1 destination. Take a tour for 2 fewer icons and gain 3 points. This one says move to the airport in your region, take any cube from that region. So you have to spend cards to do those, but That's what those are. So our basic player area down here, you have your, no, forget that this is not the basic player area. This is just because I'm tight on table space right now. You get a suitcase here with yours, put it on the face-up side of which you're playing. So we're playing 2 players. It will change based on player count. You'll then get 3 of these cards dealt to you. You also have a player aid. Over here is the display for the different places that are available right now, the destinations. So we have Cappadocia, National Mall, Uluru, or Painted Rocks, the Great Wall of China. And what's cool is it's got this beautiful art on all of them, but on the back of the card it tells you about them, but you also know what's coming. So we know Table Mountain is coming next. If you were to grab one of these cards that are further down, you would also gain a 3-point or 5-point bonus depending on where it is in the slot there. And when you pull one, obviously they'll cascade down and become worth more points. On your turn out here, you're going to move. You must move first. You've got to use a track card in your hand. You can discard as many track cards as you want, but here's the catch. You have to move exactly that number. So if I play the 2 and the 1, I can't move 2 trying to free up cards out of my hand. I have to move exactly 3 spaces. So I would move 1, 2, 3 down to Table Mountain, or I could go 1, 2, 3 up to Cappadocia, which is good because now if I had, which by the way, you would take the cube that's sitting there where you stop. These are souvenirs. There are these tiles for the souvenirs. You have the most clothing here, 2 plus. Here, let's go. Most clothing, which are the red cubes, most figurines with the blue cubes, most postcards, and most crafts. These work basically just by, if you have the most, you'll keep this in your area, and if someone surpasses you, they will take it from you, a la Marvel Splendor, like we just talked about in a review I did recently. But at the end of the game, these are worth points too, but for having these cards, but you also gain points down here for having completed columns of these different types of things. So if you have, all 16 of these filled, it's worth 15 points at the end of the game. So it's just a different way to get points. But you move, and let's just say we moved out there to Cappadocia, and I had in my hand a green card and a red card. Well, then I could take Cappadocia and get those points, and it would become mine in my area to score at the end of the game. Also, the other options, because you do have to move, if you do not have any track cards, let's just say you spent all your track cards and you don't have any to move, you would then draw 2 from here. The other things you could do, you have to draw 2 from here. Now you can do that even if you don't have, if you're not empty, but the other options are take a tour, which means that you would do one of the, you'd spend track cards to gain one of the destinations like I did with Cappadocia up there. And their lists are in the bottom, so that's 3 yellows, a yellow and a green, 2 reds, and a red and a green. You have to spend those. Or you can do the journey action, which means you'll trade in cards of the same icon to do those actions up there. So in this game, it's reserve a destination. The other one is move to an airport and take a cube. So it's just another way to do things on your turn. The game will end, there's a couple if you collect the last souvenir in a region, you're going to gain the region bonus, which are these sitting right here. So you'll flip this up, face up in your area. Well, so you'll flip this into your area. This is worth 4 points at the end of the game, so we can do that. You then, at the end game triggers, if the 5th region bonus has been claimed, like those, or if someone collects 5 destination cards, you will then score points based on this chart right here, which is pretty great. It's your points based on that, points based on most souvenirs, points based on having those total in the chart there. So it's points based on your destination cards, points based on your souvenir cards, points based on if you collected enough souvenirs to get those bonuses, and any extra points you have just sitting there from the region bonus or the card bonus here. But that is how you play Trekking the World. One more thing I wanted to show you was the absolute gorgeous art in this game of all the different places. To the Taj Mahal, Florida Union, Great Barrier Reef. I mean, there's so many places all across the world, and it shows you where they are. There's Kruger in Africa, Fisherman's Bastion. That looks, I'm gonna guess that's Spain. Is that Spain? Neo-Romanesque, so I'm gonna guess that's not Spain. Hungary, it's in Hungary, huh? Cool. Halong Bay, the Terracotta Army, Milford Sound. Yeah, New Zealand, okay. There's Grand Canyon, Sydney Opera House, we know that one obviously. Chichen Itza, Serengeti, that's gorgeous. Alhambra, the game. Cliffs of Insanity, no. Borobudur, I don't know. Teotihuacan, nice. Colosseum, the Eiffel Tower here. Pyramids of Giza, love it. The Acropolis, yeah, it's beautiful. Petra, gotta love it. Inside of there is the Holy Grail, right? Banff, Niagara Falls, Yellowstone, beautiful place. Yeah, Andes. Iguazu Falls, Angkor Wat, Kremlin and Red Square. I don't know where this is. What is this? Oh, it's even got pronunciation. I'm still going to mess it up. It's in Brazil. Old Havana. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Mount Fuji. Christ the Redeemer. That's such a cool statue. Timbuktu. Galapagos. Angel Falls. Jama el Fana. That's in Morocco. Yeah, I was about to say, I knew it was in Morocco. The Sagrada Familia. Look at that. Look at that. See the dice right there? There's a dice right there. Praga Stolen. I'm going to guess that's in, come on, let's see. Oh, okay, no, it's in Norway, so it's not going to be pronounced like that. Victoria Falls, Mysore Palace, Table Mountain, National Mall, Uluru, or the Painted Rocks. That's what I'm saying. I've never heard it called Uluru. I'm sure that's the original term. Great Wall of China, and then Cappadocia. I want to say that, yeah. Cappadocia. Cappadocia. Oh, wow. Always had that wrong. According to this pronunciation guide, help me out here. Cappadocia. Cappadocia? Docia. Well, transliterated to the English would be Cappadocia, but that's probably wrong. So now that we're back from both of our treks, one across the world and one through time, which one of these games is the better of the two? Now, I will give you a definitive answer at the end of this video, but I'm going to give you some pluses for both games. Now, first of all, Trek in the World has that map. Love the way the map looks, and the art in both of these games is top-notch. It's absolutely phenomenal. You can't go wrong with the way the art style is done of these cards. It just looks amazing on both of them. Seeing the historical events and then seeing the stuff around the world, Cappadocia, whatever. Seeing that is really, really cool, and I love the art in this game. These games. The art direction of how the symbology plays in is very straightforward in both games. The color cubes match this in Trekking the World, and then the little symbols match your little day tile on Trekking Through Time. It could not be simpler. There's no, what is that upgrade symbol? Does that mean change? Does that mean draw a card? Does that mean switch a card out? Does that mean trash a card? There's none of that. You just literally just roll the map out and Trekking Through Time. You give it a quick teach and you're good to go. Very short rule books on both. And very easy rules. Now, more complex actions are involved in Trekking the World because you get to move across the board and you get to take the souvenirs. And if you're the last one to take the souvenir, you get that bonus. And then you're trying to be the person with the most souvenirs. Trekking Through Time is you're building a tableau and you have to find that balance of, wait a minute, I'm in 1580 right now. There's not that many cards left after this year. So do I want to go ahead and in this run of cards for 18, 20 points, whatever it would be? Or do I want to say, no, let me hold out and hope I can get that 30, 33 point run? Plus, you can get all those points during the game by filling out those day tile things, which is pretty great. So, you fill it out left to right, top to bottom. The games both look great. They both play great. Now, here's the rubber meets the road. Where do we come down? So, let me give you the cheat answer first. I think they're different enough where even though people look at them and go, oh, these must be sequels, they're different enough to where you can own both of these and be content because they don't feel enough the same, give or take the collection of the cubes and the collection of the symbols. They don't feel enough of the same to where you're feeling like, oh, I feel like we just played this game. Like if you were to play, another example from my games of competitive nature in the past, my versus videos, which are kind of my bread and butter in the past, and I want to get back to more of that. I have another one coming at the end of the month. But they're different enough where you can own both. Now, granted, if budgets are a consideration and you're going to only pick one, I'm now falling into the camp of I'm going to pick Trekking Through Time because I like the simplicity of it better. I like the get a card and have this kind of push your luck. Do I want to keep going and hope that comes out? Do I want to take an ancestor this round, even though it's one symbol and it's wild? Or do I want to just say, heck with it, let me start over because there's a 30,000 BC one there. So let me start with that handprint one, right? There's a lot of push and pull and a lot of give and take in what do I do, even though the choice is take a card. To me, that's really brilliant because it's take a card, but I get these symbols, or take a card, or do I close my map and start over? Even though that's such a basic choice, this game offers so many choices in your action. So I really love Trekking Through Time. It is my favorite of these two. And if I were to get rid of one, I would get rid of Trekking Through the World, even though I'm not, because they're both different enough and they're both great games with excellent art. So into this day, stamp of approval is on both games. If you were to pick one, go get Trekking Through Time first. It, to me, is the better of these two games. Haven't played National Parks, but I still feel like I would rank this one above all of them just because of how it plays and how it's different. I'll be honest, when I saw the Kickstarter for this go live, I was like, that's different than the way the other ones go. And I liked it. It actually turned out better than my expectations. Really, really, really like this game. So that is Trekking Through Time, through History, and Trekking the World, Trekking Through History, coming out on top with the IC title. Shawn Michaels over Jeff Jarrett. The Road Dogg turns on him, and then they walk out of the company together. That's what this is all about. In Your House 2, 1995. It's not about that at all, but if it was, that's what would happen. So at the end of the day, the hand goes up for Trekking Through History. Mr. WrestleMania. Intercontinental Champion. Trekking Through History. So that's it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. If you want some amazing Dice Tower merch, check out dicetowerstore.com, and I will ship those out to you personally ASAP. So order. We got some great t-shirts there. We're running a deal on t-shirts now. Make sure to check that out. And until next time, we will see you. dicetowerstore.com. I should mention that.